Well, let me cross over to New York, joined by activist and commentator Don DeBar. Don, good to see you as always. Your take on now the expansion of BRICS with countries such as Iran and others entering. What does it mean in your perspective?
Well, first, to you and everyone there, happy and healthy New Year.
Same to you.
First, I mean, if you want to look at it just in terms of structure and the human population or the bulk of humanity that's involved, the BRICS, the original BRICS group of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. These were up-and-coming economies, some pretty strong at the time of the grouping together of in the last decade or so. Now all booming. If you look, for example, at Asia as sort of the center of the global economy now and cementing that, you have Russia, India, and China involved in this. Not just that. In Asia, you also have Russia as a member of the Eurasian Economic Union, which has Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, and Kyrgyzstan involved. You have China as the head of the Belt and Road Initiative and a member of a number of other multilateral economic and integrative organizations. You have Brazil as a member, and Latin America as a member of CELAC also, for example, and there's an entire structure of multilateralism going on in Latin America, CARICOM, Mercosur, et cetera, and in Africa. So they start with the African Union. There are a number of regional groupings also around South Africa, and South Africa is not the only large economy in Africa either. You have Nigeria, for example. The potential makes the Atlantic grouping or whatever, the United States, Canada, Western Europe, Japan, and occupied Korea, it's going to dwarf it. Maybe within a generation, certainly. Maybe by the end of the this decade. And so, as BRICS expands, it expands not just with the added members, but with the added networks of associations of economic activity, economic groupings, where it's already encompassing maybe 60 to 70% of humanity and growing.
What does it mean for Iran specifically and the United States? We know that the United States will basically, since Iran's revolution in 1979, they have basically sanctioned Iran and have tried to isolate Iran. But we fast forward now 44, almost 45 years later, and we see, for example, Iran becoming parts of various organizations, including BRICS.
Yeah. Well, you lived here, I think, in 1979. Certainly I did. And there are photostatic copies up in a number of bars still that went up in 1979 of the Ayatollah Khomeini with targets drawn on his face. That's when the hostilities begin and have only amplified officially. Like Cuba, which had its first sanctions in 1960-61, the layering of sanctions against Iran has only grown. Russia and Iran are the two most sanctioned countries on the planet, and they have just pretty much completed the necessary work to completely ditch the dollar and all of the transactions between these two, who are now both members of BRICS and who are going to see nothing but increase in their strategic economic activity. Both large petroleum and natural gas producers, energy producers in general, and both in a position in terms of military and geostrategic positioning to deal with not just the economic flow of those products, but also the physical transmission of them from, say, Iran and other Middle East countries near there to the rest of the world. That is also a situation that is being, we look at the relationship between Iran and Venezuela, in terms of the implications for the global petroleum and energy markets in general, and also just the state of economies like Iran's and others that are, mature economies and now have an opportunity, instead of dealing with, a colonial power basically to obtain this good, these goods or those goods, or this kind of financing or whatever, can do it with each other, and they're building like an alternate economy that again is going to dwarf the Western economy.
Thanks so much for being with us out of New York. Don DeBar, activist and commentator.